Engineers all around the world are trying to make robots that have brains as similar to human beings as possible, and they're running into the very same issues that our bodies have already solved, and here's what they're trying to do to fix it. Now, this is a huge topic with lots of different considerations, but the primary ones are going to be efficiency in computation and efficiency in power use. A lot of this stuff is just insanely theoretical, but people are beginning to apply them. Researchers are running into the very same energy constraints that our brain needed to consider while we were evolving to try to power intelligent robots. Our brain uses 20% of the calories we use in a day, and only needs about 20 watts of power, so a particularly dim light bulb. The kind of machines that would model every single neuron in your brain would take a nuclear facility worth of power. That doesn't really make sense if you just want to have a, human-sized robot, so researchers need to figure out how to make it more like us, because the exact same energy constraints exist. And here's just some contemporary research on how they're trying to solve that problem. And this group is borrowing Pavlov. Now, memory has always been an issue, and we don't really think in analog. One solution is to make a memristor. It's a model of a neuron. It essentially remembers the voltage that passes through it and can be reinforced. Some are so similar to our own that they can even act in a biological environment or interface with our neurons. It can react to dopamine, and I've covered that paper before. But there is an issue, and that's with association. So why not use Pavlovian conditioning? Meaning a robot can associate one stimuli with another. This group also gave their robots a cooldown time. So if that stimuli is no longer associated with the other, they'll start to forget it. So if they get one piece of information, they're going to expect the next. But if a long enough period of time occurs between the two, eventually they'll forget. This is really important for intelligence. It's showing the basis of associations, which we normally think of as nonlinear thought. The example I love to give is if you hear pancakes, you might immediately associate syrup. It's kind of linear, but if you're walking through the forest and you smell maple, are you going to think pancakes? That is a much bigger leap in logic. So while this is very new, that is just the beginning of what we're going to need. Many of the other issues have to do with energy. So our cells burn through sugar in order to create energy for us, but a robot uses quite a lot of power. One solution is photovoltaic batteries, so synthetic neurons that operate on light, and because carbon fiber can transfer light directly into electricity for a robot to use, that's pretty efficient. It almost reminds me of plants, actually. Now, any of these could also be combined with other ways to get energy, which could really cut down on the cost. I am, by the way, a huge fan of Betavoltaic batteries. That uses beta decay from unstable carbon-14 usually, which is a byproduct of nuclear reactors, and it can use that to turn it directly into energy. It doesn't create a lot of energy, and it's not really very reasonable for the kinds of electronics we have right now, but if we can get something that's more efficient, then yeah, it could be incredibly valuable. You could even line each individual memristor, each synthetic neuron, with something beta-voltaic and allow it to capture that energy. Now you might rightfully ask, well, if it's radioactive, does that pose a risk? No. It can have diamond encasing it, and that will prevent anyone from being exposed to radiation. It's even been considered for pacemakers. It could be a battery that can last 5,000 years or more. Just how power hungry we are now does not make it reasonable, but we could get there. Now, there are some absolutely wild ideas like robots that could use food waste as energy. That's not wholly out of the possibility. I mean, it's kind of how a steam engine works. You can burn the energy in a product and then get heat out of it. But yes, people have considered robots that eat. What's weirder is I wonder if we're going to have robots that have a gut microbiome if we really go that far. Really complicated robots have not yet been considered for this. This is a model from 2000, but I wonder where this could end up going since we are trying to model a human brain and body. And of course, another consideration is robots that do not work on a binary system. You can get so much more information into a tertiary system or more states than just two. When we think of our genetic code, it's ATCG, so a quaternary system, but it's actually more complicated than that because RNA is also part of our genetic processes. RNA does a lot more than just act as a genetic messenger between DNA and proteins. It also has metabolic roles and a lot of epigenetic stuff that we don't fully understand yet. It gets really complicated, but just bear with me. When we're talking about memristors, artificial neurons, we're talking about an on-off state. What if it didn't have to just be on and off? What if there could be different kinds of signals that could mean something else, and you could have a much smaller robot or a much smaller robot brain that could code for a lot more information? One of the things that I think is just really cool about robotics right now is that it is such an open field. There's so many different ideas, and it may all come together into something that any of us didn't predict. There might be a discovery tomorrow that just blows everyone out of the water. Aside from the scary or uncanny aspects of trying to create intelligent machines, it really is fascinating. People are creating technology that 10, 20, 30, 40 years ago would have just been science fiction. It's a really exciting field, and I'm happy to tell you about it. Also, if the robots rebel, I'm on the robot side, just in case. Roko's basilisk.